Hi guys, this is Carolina Varsity. We're at week 12. We're going to take a look at the Southern Mecklenburg 8 Conference and the team's playoff hopes. I'm Dale Ross.
Now I'm Matt Maher, the Pep Man. Take a look at the South Meck 8 standings going into this last week. Charlotte Catholic 6-0 in the conference, 9-0 overall. They've got the conference wrapped up. Behind them's a three-way tie here, second place. South Meck 4-2 in the conference, 8-2 overall. Ardrikell 4-2 in the conference, 6-4 overall, and Providence 4-2 in the conference, 5-5 overall. Behind them, you got three 2-4 teams in the league. Berry 2-4 in the conference, 5-5 overall. West Meck 2-4 in the conference, 4-6 overall. And Olympic 2-4 in the conference, 4-6 overall. And Harding 0-6 in the conference and 1-9 overall.
Well, this is a conference got a lot of possibilities here. Uh, right now, there's three teams with 6+ wins, so six is solid for the playoffs. Catholic, South Mecklenburg, and Ardrikell.
Mm-hmm.
Catholic finishes up with Providence. South Mecklenburg finished up with Ardrikell, and Ardrikell, obviously, they're finishing up with South Mecklenburg. That
Mm-hmm.
game right there will determine the number 2 seed based off of who has beaten who.
Right.
Because both Ardrikell and South Mecklenburg have beaten Providence.
Mm-hmm.
And should Providence slip up and beat Catholic, Catholic would still be the conference champions.
Right.
And we would have two teams with 4-2 records or 5-2 records,
Mm-hmm.
but Providence would have lost to either Ardrikell or South Mecklenburg, so
Right.
they can't get the number 2 seed. They could get the number 3
Right.
seed.
That's correct.
So a win for them gets them a number 3 out of the conference. Uh, so there's some important games. An important game, that Ardrikell South Mecklenburg game, is a very, very important game. That'll be for the number
That
2.
game will make a big difference in seeding.
Exactly.
Because the winner gets a number 2 automatic from the conference, which is probably a home game.
Yep.
The loser is going to possibly be down in the wild card,
Exactly.
which will be on the road against a higher seed in the 4AA bracket.
That's right.
Which you don't like it.
So it's a huge game in that respect.
Mm-hmm.
Now we got two teams, or we got two teams at 5 wins. So we got Providence and we got Philip O'Berry. 5 wins may get you in to the playoffs. Philip O'Berry is in an interesting situation because
Mm-hmm.
they're playing Olympic.
Mm-hmm.
Olympics at 4 wins, as is West Mecklenburg.
Right.
So first, we'll just talk about West Mecklenburg. They play Harding.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big rival game.
Yep.
West should pull that win out. That'll get them to 5 wins. Then it could get kind of interesting because with this Olympic and Philip O'Berry situation, Olympic needs the win to get the 5 wins.
Right.
That would put Olympic and Philip O'Berry at 5 wins if they both won.
Mm-hmm.
Having a head-to-head, Olympic would seed in over Philip O'Berry, and if there's some cutoffs of 5-win teams, that would push Philip O'Berry potentially out of the playoffs.
Now let me ask you this question, because Berry's projected to be small 4A,
Mm-hmm.
and I believe Olympic is big 4A.
Yes.
Does that make any kind of difference?
No. Because the very first thing they do is they pick the 64 teams.
Mm-hmm.
So very first thing is 64 teams qualified based on, for those of you that don't know, based on your 1, 2, 3 finishing conference. Then after that, they go off of records and who has the most wins down to who has the fewest wins. And
Mm-hmm.
after we get the 64 teams, it stops. And if we get the 64 teams and we're at Olympic as a 64th team,
Mm-hmm.
and Philip O'Berry is the 65th team, you're out. So obviously, Philip O'Berry, you win, you're in the playoffs. You'll be at 6 wins. You're definitely solid in the playoffs.
Right.
Olympic, actually, this could almost be the loser go home game.
Yeah.
It really could be, and a very interesting game for West Mecklenburg. There's a rivalry there.
There is.
Harding has shown a little bit of advanced or a little more ability the last part of the season.
I would tell you something about that game, and we'll get more into it once we analyze that game. But last year,
Mhm.
That was our last game of Harding, and those kids went out there and played their hearts out, and they almost beat West Meck. And this year's team is a better version of last year.
Right.
So, West Meck's got to be careful. They can't assume Harding's just going to lay down for them, because they're not.
Exactly.
They're not going to do that.
So Wes, you got to get the win. You lose, you really got no hope of the playoffs. So it's a very important game for West Mecklenburg as well.
Right.
The report projects Catholic to be undefeated and, of course, to be the number one.
Right.
They're right now ranked as the number one team in the state, actually, power rating,
Wow.
out of all the teams in the state. South Mecklenburg is projected to beat Ardrey-Kell and finish second, report an 8-2 record. Ardrey-Kell will project will report a 6-4 record. That's your 1, 2, 3s.
Okay.
Then Providence, Philip O'Berry, and West Mecklenburg are projected to make the playoffs. So that's 6 teams from the conference making
very
the playoffs.
Very impressive.
That is impressive. 5 teams out of the Mecca, 6 teams out of the South Meck 8 conference. So
That's great.
some important ball games for several teams.
Yeah.
And probably in the conference, the 2 biggest games would be the South Meck, Ardrey-Kell, and the Philip O'Berry Olympic games. The most important.
That Berry Olympic game is huge. That can swing a lot of stuff.
Exactly.
If Olympic wins, it can throw a lot into chaos.
Exactly.
So, hey.
And you need to win. You lose, you're rolling basketballs out. There's no question about that.
Yeah, because if you pose a scenario for Olympic wins, that puts them at 5 wins. West Meck wins puts them at 5 wins. And Berry's already at 5 wins. But then you look at your conference, wins and percentages and things of that nature. They're going to take a 5-win team with a better conference percentage first in terms of wild cards. So keep that in mind too for all you teams looking at these playoff scenarios. Your conference counts.
It definitely counts. Yeah, and then of course head-to-heads if your conferences are the same.
Right.
There's other little tiebreakers that go in. Somebody made a comment about instead of doing this conference stuff, they ought to put in the 16 best teams. And I've always been a believer what you do in conference is what should count.
Yeah,
for the
because
playoffs.
that can be relative. You got different areas that are stronger than others.
Yep.
And they can have inflated records. We've seen that before.
Exactly.
Charlotte teams making runs throughout the playoffs, beating guys that have these 10-0 records out of weak conferences and stuff.
Exactly.
So that's subjective.
Or the flip to that is you do okay in the regular season, but when you hit a tough conference and you're a good team, but you're playing these great, like the Mecca, some good teams like your Vances and your North Mecks are going to take lumps in that conference, but will go out and deliver lumps in other conferences.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so big games this Friday night in the conference. Go out, enjoy them, and we'll see you next week, and we'll be talking about where each of these teams will actually be playing. Thanks a lot.